Yeah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Go, Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto. You gotta think that out. Canto 1, Chapter 16, text number 11 or 10? 13. Okay. Are you guys ready? 1:16:13. Oh, it's 3 verses. So I'll just chant the first one, and then second one we'll chant the third one together. Tattatro Persnavana Svapulesam Mahatmanam Pragyamanam Chayasa Krishna Mahatmya Suchakam Atmanam Cha Pritratam Ashvathamo Tejasa Sneham Cha Varzi Bharatanam Tesam Bhaktim Chakesave. So you could respond with this. Teja Bharama Santusta Prityu Vidyalochanaha Mahadanani Vasansi Daharan Mahamana Tebya Mahanama Suntusta Prityukrita Lochanaha Mahadanani Vasansi Daharan Mahamana Devya Parama Santusta Prityurinvita Lochana Bandhanani Vasansi Tadahara Mahamana Tatra Tatra. Everywhere the king visited, Upashravanaha, continuously he heard Swapruvesam about his own forefathers. Mahatmanam, who were all great devotees of the Lord. Priyamanam, unto those who were thus addressing. Cha, also. Yasa, glories. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Mahatmya, glorious acts. Shukatam, indicating. Atmanam, his personal self. Cha, also. Paritratam, delivered. Ashvatamna, of Ashvatamna. Astra, weapon. Tejasa, powerful rays. Sneham, affection. Cha, also. Vrishni Parthanam, between descendants of Vishnu and those of Partha. Esam, of all of them. Bhaktim, devotion. Cha, also. Keshave, unto Lord Krishna. Tebya, unto them. Parama, extremely. Santusta, pleased. Priti, attraction. Udrimbita, pleasingly open. Lochanaha, the one who has such eyes. Mahadanani, valuable riches. Vasansi, clothing. The Tao, gave in charity. Haran, necklace. Mahamana, one who has a broader outlook. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Whatever the king visited, he continuously heard the glories of his great forefathers, who were all devotees of the Lord, and also of the glorious acts of Lord Krishna. He also heard how he himself had been protected by the Lord from the powerful heat of the weapon of Ashvatthama. People also mention the great affection between the descendants of Vrishni and Pritha due to the elaters in great devotion to Lord Keshava. The king, being very pleased with the singers of such glories, opened his eyes in great satisfaction. Out of magnanimity, he was pleased to award them very valuable necklaces and clothing. Purport. Kings and great personalities of the state are presented with welcome addresses. This is a system from time immemorial. And Mars Bricket, since he was one of the well-known emperors of the world, was also presented with addresses of welcome in all parts of the world as he visited those places. The subject matter of those welcome addresses was Krishna. Krishna means Krishna and his eternal devotees. As the king means the king and his confidential associates. Krishna and his unalloyed devotees cannot be separated, and therefore glorifying the devotee means glorifying the Lord and vice versa. Maharaj Parikshit would not have been glad to hear about the glories of his forefathers, like Maharaj Yudhisthira and Arjuna, had they not been connected with the acts of Lord Krishna. The Lord descends specifically to deliver his devotees, Purtanaya Sadhanam. The devotees are glorified by the presence of the Lord because they cannot live for a moment without the presence of the Lord and his different energies. The Lord is present for the devotee by his acts and glories, and therefore Maharaj Parikshit felt the presence of the Lord when he was glorified by his acts, especially when he was saved by the Lord in the womb of his mother. The devotees of the Lord are never in danger, but in the material world, which is full of dangers, at every step, the devotees are apparently placed into dangerous positions, and when they are saved by the Lord is glorified. Lord Krishna would not have been glorified as the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita had his devotees, like the Pandavas, not been entangled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. All such acts of the Lord were mentioned in the addresses of welcome, and Maharaj Parikshit, in full satisfaction, rewarded those who presented such addresses. The difference between the presentation of welcome addresses today and in those days is that formerly the welcome addresses were presented to a person like Maharaj Parikshit. The welcome addresses were full of facts and figures, and those who presented such addresses are presented not always with factual statements, but to please the post holder. And often they are full of flattering lies, and rarely are those who present such welcome addresses rewarded by the poor receiver. Om Jnana-tamarandasya Gnanjana Salakaya Chakshum Litam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Mukram Kotravācālaṁ Bhangam Manghayate Gurim Yat Kripātaraham Bande Shigurum Dinataranam Vavancha Kalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhdevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Here, we're hearing how Parikshit Maharaj, as he's traveling around, he is hearing the glories of his grandfather and of Yudhisthira, and there's many glories. In the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it's said by Narada Muni that I could not praise the glories of Arjuna even if I were to chant 100 different scriptures. So Arjuna is such a he was the recipient of the message of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Of course, I mean he was going through a major calamity, Arjuna, because he was being asked to kill his grandfather, who he loved more than anything. I mean, I can't imagine, just from the time he was a child practically. And Dronacharya, major calamity. So calamities happen in the material world. Anybody here ever have a calamity? Yeah. Do you think they're going to happen again? Yeah. That's the material world. But will you be surprised? We won't be surprised. We know they're going to happen, but still we're surprised. And Queen Kunti, she was the mother of the Pandavas, such another amazing. She prayed for calamity. Because when calamity comes, it's opportunity to think of Krishna. Yeah. Not many people pray for calamity. I mean, I don't know of anybody that prays for calamity. We all try to avoid them as much as possible. But she was such an amazing devotee, just inconceivable. Because she knew the benefit. It's a blessing in disguise, calamity. And Arjuna also, he faced a major calamity, and it was such a major calamity that practically with tears in his eyes, now he's a kshatriya, practically with tears in his eyes, said, Krishna, I can't do this. And he dropped his Gandiva bow. He was just overwhelmed. It was just asking too much, you know, to kill such dear personalities to him. So Krishna, he said, you're lamenting that which is not worthy of lamentation. Those who are wise, they lament neither for the living nor for the dead. You're lamenting that if you kill your grandfather, you kill your teacher, that you'll be filled with lamentation. But why? If they win, they get the kingdom. If they die, they go to heaven. They don't die. The soul doesn't die. The soul doesn't die. It's like I was speaking to this Bhakti Krish yesterday. He's still coming around. Some hope. We get a prayer by Vaiseshika Prabhu that he becomes a devotee, so there's good hope. So I was explaining to him about this. So Prabhupada gives an example. We say, my hand. We say my head. We don't say I hand. We don't say I head. In other words, my hand, my head. We're possessing. You know, it's like we say my car or my room. So my hand, my head. We're possessing it, but it's not who we are. And the most difficult thing for him to understand is that we're the soul within. So I gave an example. There's a famous story in America of this boy who was having nightmares, crash nightmares. He was a pilot. So, mommy, little man going down, plane burning. He's screaming, you know, and the mother wakes up and he's having all these nightmares. And finally they look it up and they find out his name and they find out it was in World War II. And he finds out his friends, and some of his friends are still alive, and things that this little kid was saying, the 5-year-old kid, they're confirming, yeah, everything he said is absolute on. And even his sister is still alive, and things that he said about his sister, right on. So I told this to Chris. He said, "Hey, send me the link. I want to see that." And Ian Stevenson, you've heard of Ian Stevenson? He also has so many stories of children having past lives. So that's pretty good evidence there. And with this boy, the parents are Christians, and they don't believe in reincarnation. But upon seeing all the evidence, they believe in reincarnation. And also in the Bible, actually, there's mention of reincarnation. It's said in the Bible that Elijah will return. And they asked this to Jesus, and he said, he is here now. He's John the Baptist. So there's reincarnation right there. I have a sister who believes in reincarnation also. So there was no Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that there's no reason to lament. No one dies. You're not going to die. No one dies. You'll either go to heaven or Bhishma, you go back to the spiritual world. He's one of the Mahajans. But Krishna, why did he speak the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna? Sevaya maya teja yoga prokta parata bhaktosi me sakate rahasyam ketu. He says, because you are my very dear friend, I'm explaining to you this great mystery of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. This very ancient science of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm explaining to you because you're my devotee as well as my friend. Yeah. So how fortunate Arjuna is. Yeah. Krishna, there's that amazing pastime before the battle of Kurukshetra. So many warriors were on the side of Arjuna and so many were on the side of Duryodhana, but no one was on the side, or no one had Krishna on their side, so they happened to come at the same time. And Arjuna thought better, because Krishna, he was transcendentally resting. So Arjuna thought better I'm at his feet. And Duryodhana thought better I'm at his head. He wakes up, he'll see me first, he'll have to ask what I want, because he saw me first. But then when Krishna transcendentally woke up, he saw Arjuna first. Hey Arjuna, you're here. Oh, Duryodhana, you're here too. What's the occasion? And they said, well, there's a war that's going to happen soon, and we both happen to come at the same time. We want you on our side. And Krishna said, I'm not going to fight. He didn't want to fight in a fratricidal war. You know what a fratricidal war is? Between families. But if one of you want, I could drive your chariot, but I won't fight. And the other one, he could have my army. How big was the army? Big, powerful. Many Akshauhinis. I think it was 7 or something. Anyway, big war. You can imagine Krishna's army. So Arjuna, I saw you first, you choose. Krishna will take you. And Arjuna is, Duryodhana is thinking, this guy's gone nuts, He's not even gonna fight. But he was so happy. Duryodhana was so happy. I get his warriors. I get his army. So he was really happy. He didn't express it. He didn't jump up and down and start, Haribo, Haribo. But he was happy. But Arjuna was happier because he knew Krishna. So yeah, Arjuna is an amazing. One name, actually, there's 25 names of Arjuna. 25 names of Arjuna. One of them was Godakesh, which means he who removes ignorance. He was smart and very spiritual. He wasn't just a warrior. He heard the message of Bhagavad Gita in how much time? Prabhupada says about an hour. Krishna spoke in about an hour. And he caught it. And at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, he said, Iti te gyanam akyatam guyo gyotamam vimrasa sadisesanyate chittatakura. Now I've explained to you knowledge which is even more confidential. Now you deliberate on this fully and do as you wish to do. Do as you wish. So he gives him free will. But he was also probably explained, he was ready to explain it to him again. But Arjuna said, Nastamo smriti labdha krishi vachanamdava. Now my illusion is gone, my memory is woken, I'm ready to act as you have instructed. So this should be our mood also after reading Bhagavad Gita. Now I've heard your message, now I'm ready to act as you have instructed. It was so the Bhagavad Gita wasn't just spoken to Arjuna. He was the fortunate recipient of getting Krishna to personally speak to him. But it's actually for all of human society. And there was one instance where Prabhupada was speaking to one gentleman, and he was lamenting that I didn't get to hear Bhagavad Gita spoken personally to me. He was lamenting like that, and Prabhupada said, no need to lament. To read Bhagavad Gita from the Bhagavad Gita, the book, it's no difference. Yeah, no difference. He was happy to hear that. And we see that so many people have heard Bhagavad Gita and became devotees. Yeah. We have no idea how many, but thousands, millions. Yeah. Because the word of Krishna in a book form or speaking is very powerful. Yeah, when I first read it, I thought, all right, this is it. I got to surrender. Still trying. Not easy to surrender. But Krishna, he gives very good reason for surrender in the Bhagavad Gita. This material world is not a nice place. Dukkhalima Sashvatam. And if you want to get out of here, surrender. And what is the main obstacle? The mind. And what is it that works through the mind and making it difficult? The modes of nature. Mainly ignorance and passion. So this process helps us to rise above the modes of nature. Just like here in the Bay Area, there's radio stations, and they have their radio antennas in the highest place on the hill, so they can get reception. Right? So we have to rise above. We have to rise above the modes of nature, so that we can get reception of Krishna's message. As long as we're in the modes of nature, it's difficult. It's difficult to surrender. So this process is meant to help us rise above the modes of nature. Mam chayo vyavacharya bhakti yogena sagunan savatitajam brahmavayakam. That anybody who engages in devotional service, then they're able to rise above the modes of nature. And the Pandavas, they were there, above the modes of nature, very dear to Krishna. It's described that practically everybody died on the battlefield except for the 5 Pandavas. And they didn't even get scratched. Krishna just gave full protection to the Pandavas because they were so dear to Krishna. So we were also dear to Krishna. Actually, we're still dear to Krishna, but we were more dear before we decided to try to be Krishna. But we can still pick ourselves up and become pure again. There's a nice example given by Subha Vilas in one of his books. This example is there's a bee, and he's resting, he's tired, and the queen bee wakes him up and says, "All right, come on, you got to go get some honey." And he's a little drowsy. All right. You know. He gets up and he's flying around, going looking for a garden to get some honey, and he runs into a wall, smacks into a wall, falls down into a sewage. And he's like, "Oh God, this sewage." He was a young, energetic bee, so he gets up, gets out, and shakes it off and continues on and looking for the honey. And he goes to a garden. He finds a nice flower, rose. And he goes in there, and the rose doesn't smell very nice. So he gets out and he finds another rose. And he goes into that one. Ooh, this doesn't smell very nice either. goes into another one. Yeah, this also does. What's and then another bee comes in. The reason they're not smelling nice is because you still have sewage on your antennas, so you're smelling the sewage. I said, oh, okay. So we shook off the sewage. So we were also pure, and we've come into this material world, the sewage. Material world is like the sewage, yeah? And now we're trying to shake it off. Not easy. Daivihi Shakana Mai, Mama Mayanta, Mama Vipapatite, Mayamitam Trantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. But one who surrenders unto me can very easily cross beyond it. So Krishna has given us a treasure in the words of the Bhagavad Gita. And if we follow, then we'll attain the treasure of devotional service. Vaisheshika, we gave a nice example yesterday, but there's but he didn't complete the analogy. There was a very poor man, and he was lamenting, kind of downtrodden, lamenting. And there was an astrologer called Sarvagya. He was good. He was a knower. Sarvagya means knower of everything. So he knew a lot. So he was able to do this person's astrological chart. He said, no reason to lament. Don't lament. You've been left a great treasure. But be careful when you try to get this treasure, because there's danger. If you dig on the southern side of where this treasure is, you're going to be stung by bees. Another bee example. You're going to be stung by bees, and these bees are going to harass you so much that you won't get the treasure. So what are the bees compared to? The desire to enjoy fruits of activity. Because a lot of people want to enjoy in this material world the fruits of their activities and the fruits of others' activities as well. And there's competition, trying to enjoy in this material world. Yeah, so sometimes, just like the story is there of the Avanti Brahmana. He was very wealthy, and people envied him, but he was also very miserly, he's greedy. He wouldn't even take care of his own family, practically wouldn't even take care of himself. He was just such a greedy person. Yeah. So it's described that eventually he lost everything. The government took some, thieves took some, in just different ways. He just lost everything. And eventually he, by that taking away of everything by Krishna, he became detached. He became completely detached, and he became saintly even. He became a sadhu. Yeah. And he chanted a verse, see if I can remember. Nayam jano me sukaduka heta, na devatatma or karma kala. He says, I was thinking that people were the cause of my suffering because they took my wealth. And not only that, when he was kind of going in this sadhu direction, people were mistreating him. Sometimes they would come and they would spit on his food. If he'd beg something, they'd spit on his food. And just, can you imagine that? I mean, so they mistreated him in so many ways. And he was thinking, well, maybe the people are the cause. I mean, eventually he said, no, people are not the cause. Nayam Janome Sukudu, they're not the cause of my happiness and distress. Some people may say, well, maybe the demigods, because the demigods, they control a lot. No, not the demigods. Not Devatama, Graha. maybe the astrological, the stars. I'm under a bad star. This is this is in astrology, and it's true. There's people get under bad stuff. No, not the stars. Not because of karma. Some people think, well, maybe it's bad karma, good karma. No. Time, kala. Maybe it's time. No. What is it? The mind. The mind. It's not people. It's not time. It's not karma. It's not demigods. The mind. So, and even the bees also aren't the cause of the suffering. And then he said, but if you dig on the western side, you're going to be harassed by ghosts. And this is compared to people that speculate, mental speculation. There's a lot of mental speculation, just like there's so many translations of the Bhagavad Gita. And they're practically all wrong. Not practically, they're all wrong, except for Prabhupada. And therefore it's Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yes. It's like I met one person on book distribution. He had been in India, and he had met many Mayavadis. And sure enough, he came back very confused. So I presented the books to him and asked for a donation. He said, yes, 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 yes. Nati, nati, nati. Nati, 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 nati. Not mine, not this. I could see he was mentally not very. But he gave a donation and took a book. Nati, nati doesn't mean not mine, not this. But it means what, not this, not that. Nati, nati. But he said, not mine, not this, not that. It's like, I could see he was quite confused. But he gave a donation, took some books. But this is what happens. People get very confused. And even devotees, they go to India and they don't have good association, they get confused also. They end up in Radhakund or something, see some Babaji. And I don't know if I mentioned it. There was one instance where one devotee, he went to Radhakund and there was some Babaji there and said, and he told him his Siddha Swarup. He said, your Siddha Swarup is you're a peacock. So he went back to the ashram in his room and he's practicing. Yeah. And one devotee went in there, his roommate, he said, Prabhu, what are you doing? He said, well, I just found out my Siddha Swarup is a peacock, so I'm practicing. And Radhanath Swami knew this devotee. He knew this devotee, he told me. He was a good preacher, nice devotee. But even someone's a good preacher, nice devotee, he can be misled and you get confused. Yeah. So, yeah, material world. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a strange abode, strange place. And Prabhupada said, spiritual movement in the material world, very difficult proposal. Spiritual movement in the material world, difficult proposal because there's just so much confusion, so much Maya. So to be able to escape, like there's one book called The Great Escape. It was by Devamrita Swami. How to escape. This is a prison. So the only way to escape is we have to take shelter of Krishna. Just like the Pandavas, they're always taking shelter of Krishna. Kunti always taking shelter of Krishna. dependent. Cetasa sarvakarma. Krishna says that the one who depends upon me in all circumstances, such a person is very dear to me. So we have to depend on Krishna in whatever circumstance. And Prabhupada says in one purport that devotees, they're servants of circumstances. In other words, whatever circumstance we may find ourselves in, we serve Krishna in that way. You know, we don't know what circumstance we're going to find ourselves in, but we have to be ready to serve Krishna in whatever circumstance we're found. And sometimes we're in awkward, very awkward circumstances. And it's like Arjuna, in a very awkward circumstance. But fortunately, he had the guidance of Krishna. And we also have the guidance of Krishna. We have the guidance of Prabhupada. And there's so many devotees. You know, Vaiseshika Prabhu, he's a very good guide also. So there's so many devotees that we could also take guidance from. There's the Diksha Guru, and there's the Shiksha Guru. So, and Prabhupada mentions that they're equal. So I think we're supposed to stop at 8. Any short question anybody have? Okay, it is now 8 o'clock. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. This Vijaya Prabhu ki jai.